We're very privileged to have with us this afternoon Dr. William Lane Craig. He's a renowned philosopher who is in England for just 10 days. He's touring, debating and lecturing around the area. William Lane Craig did his PhD in philosophy in England, and then he completed a doctorate in theology in Germany. This double doctorate has equipped him to become one of the world's leading defenders of historic Christianity, and he has a particular interest in the philosophy of science, and has published more than 30 books and around 200 academic papers. His most recent book is On Guard, and that's on sale today and on the internet. And in this book he goes through some of the arguments and explains them and expands them like he's going to be doing today, but in a more thorough fashion. His kind of key work is called Reasonable Faith, and that is also on sale today and on the internet, and that's kind of the book that he is most well known for. He's debated many contemporary atheists, including Christopher Hitchens, Daniel Dennett, Peter Atkins, and most recently Stephen Law. Much of his public work and the topic of most of his debates is the evidence for the existence of God. Normally in his debates he only has kind of half an hour, 20 minutes to present his arguments, so we've asked him to come talk to us today on those arguments and to expand those arguments for them so that we can evaluate them for ourselves and decide where we stand on the issues. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Professor William Lane Craig to come talk to us about the evidence for the existence of God. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. I am delighted to have the invitation to speak on the evidence for God here at Imperial College, and thank you for coming. As a springboard for our discussion today, I'd like you to ask yourselves the question, is the material world all there is? The view that there's nothing apart from the material world goes by a number of different names. Materialism, physicalism, naturalism would be a few. David Armstrong, a prominent naturalist philosopher, characterizes naturalism in the following way. Naturalism is the doctrine that reality consists of nothing but a single, all-embracing spatio-temporal system. According to this view, then, all that exists is the contents of time and space. And the question then before us is that true? Is there nothing but the physical objects existing in time and space? Well, today I want to look at some reasons that suggest that this is not the case. I believe that there are certain aspects of reality that we encounter in our experience of the world that serve, as it were, as signposts of transcendence, pointing beyond the natural world to its ground in a transcendent reality. And apart from some overriding reason to think that naturalism is true, I think we've got to be open to the existence of such a transcendent reality. We can't justifiably close our minds in advance to the existence of such a transcendent reality. As Hamlet put it, there may be more things in heaven and on earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. And today I want to sketch briefly 7 aspects of the world which I think suggest that there are indeed more things in heaven and on earth than are dreamt of in naturalistic philosophy. Now, whole books have been written on each of these, so what I'll present is a brief summary of each argument. Number 1, then, why anything at all exists. This is the deepest question of philosophy. Why is there something rather than nothing? This mystery, which according to Aristotle lay at the very root of philosophy, is one which even thoughtful naturalists cannot avoid. Derek Parfit, for example, agrees, and I quote, "No question is more sublime than why there is a universe, why there is anything rather than nothing." Now, experience teaches that everything that exists has an explanation of its existence, either in the necessity of its own nature or in an external cause. This principle seems quite plausible, at least more so than it's contradictory. Imagine that you were walking through the woods and you found a translucent ball lying on the forest floor. You would find the claim quite bizarre that the ball exists there with literally no explanation. And merely increasing the size of the ball, even until it becomes coextensive with the cosmos, would do nothing to eliminate the need for or to provide an explanation of its existence. According to this first principle, then, everything that exists is one of either two types. The first type is anything that exists necessarily by its own nature. Examples? Well, many mathematicians believe that numbers, sets, and other abstract objects exist in this way. If such entities exist, they just exist necessarily, without any cause of their being. The other type is anything that has an external cause of its existence. Examples? Well, mountains, planets, people, galaxies. They have causes outside themselves which explain why they exist. Now, it's obvious that the universe exists. It therefore follows logically that the universe has an explanation of its existence. So, what sort of explanation could the universe have? Well, it seems plausible that if the universe has an explanation of its existence, that explanation is an external, transcendent, personal cause. Why? Because the cause of the universe must be greater than the universe. Think of the universe, all of space and time. So the cause of the universe must be beyond space and time. Therefore, it cannot be physical or material. Now, there are only two kinds of things that could possibly fit that description. Either an abstract object, like a number, or else an intelligent mind, that is to say, an unembodied consciousness. But abstract objects can't cause anything. The number 7, for example, has no effect upon anything. And therefore it follows that the explanation of the universe is an external, transcendent, personal cause. That is to say, there exists an unembodied mind which created the universe, which is what most people have traditionally meant by the word God. So it seems to me that this is a sound argument for thinking that the explanation of why anything at all exists is to be found in a personal, transcendent mind which is necessary in its existence and which is the cause of the contingent universe. Number 2, the origin of the universe. Have you ever asked yourself where the universe came from? Was there a beginning to the universe? Or does it just go back and back forever? Typically, naturalists have said that the universe is just eternal and uncaused, and that's all. But there are good reasons, both philosophical and scientific, to doubt that this is the case. Philosophically, the idea of an infinite past is very problematic. Think about it. If the universe never had a beginning, that means that the number of past events in the history of the universe is infinite. But the existence of an actually infinite number of things leads to metaphysical absurdities. To give one example, what is infinity minus infinity? Well, mathematically, you get self-contradictory answers. For example, if you had an infinite number of coins, numbered 1, 2, 3, and so on, to infinity, and I took away all the odd-numbered coins, how many coins would you have left? Well, you'd still have all the even-numbered coins, right? Or an infinity of coins. So infinity minus infinity is infinity. But now suppose instead that I took away all of the coins numbered greater than 3. Now how many coins would you have left? Well, just 3. So infinity minus infinity is 3. And yet in each case, I took away an identical number of coins from an identical number of coins and came up with contradictory results. In fact, you can get any answer when you subtract infinity, from 0 to infinity. And for that reason, inverse operations like subtraction and division are simply prohibited in transfinite arithmetic. But that convention doesn't apply to the real world. You can give away whatever coins you want. This shows, I think, that infinity is just a concept or an idea in your mind, not something that exists in reality. David Hilbert, who was perhaps the greatest mathematician of the 20th century, states, and I quote, "The infinite is nowhere to be found in reality. It neither exists in nature nor provides a legitimate basis for rational thought. The role that remains for the infinite to play is solely that of an idea." But that entails that since past events are not just ideas in your mind, but are real, the number of past events must be finite. Therefore, the series of past events can't go back and back forever. Rather, the universe must have begun to exist. This purely philosophical conclusion has been confirmed by remarkable discoveries in astronomy and astrophysics. In one of the most startling developments of modern science, we now have pretty strong evidence that the universe is not eternal in the past, but had an absolute beginning a finite time ago. For all matter and energy, even physical space and time themselves, came into being at a point in the finite past. As the physicist P.C.W. Davies says, the coming into being of the universe, as discussed in modern science, is not just a matter of imposing some sort of organization upon a previous incoherent state, but literally the coming into being of all physical things from nothing. Now, of course, alternative theories have been proposed over the years to try to avoid this absolute beginning. But none of these theories has commended itself to the majority of the scientific community. In fact, in the year 2003, 3 cosmologists, Arvin Bord, Alan Guth, and Alexander Vilenkin, were able to prove that any universe, which is on average in a state of cosmic expansion throughout its history, cannot be eternal in the past, but must have a past space-time boundary. This theorem applies not only to the standard model, but also to semi-classical quantum gravity models, inflationary models of the universe, and higher dimensional brane cosmologies. Vilenkin pulls no punches. He writes, "It is said that an argument is what convinces reasonable men, and a proof is what it takes to convince even an unreasonable man. With the proof now in place," he says, "cosmologists can no longer hide behind the possibility of a past eternal universe. There is no escape. They have to face the problem of a cosmic beginning," end quote. That problem was nicely captured by Anthony Kenny of Oxford University when he wrote, "A proponent of the Big Bang Theory, at least if he is an atheist, must believe that the universe came from nothing and by nothing." But surely that doesn't make sense. For such a conclusion is, in the words of the philosopher of science Bernhard Königscheider, in head-on collision with the most successful ontological commitment in the history of science, namely the metaphysical principle that out of nothing, nothing comes.